The other thing I said I was going to talk to today is HubZone program. And that's the one that nobody understands, because HubZone program is the only program that we have that doesn't care who you are. It only cares where you are. And we talked in 8A about, it was to a certain extent asking if you were a POC, Black American, Native American, Hispanic American, Subcontinent Asian American, Pacific Asian American. You run these off a lot, you get really good at it. None of that matters for the purposes of HubZone. HubZone is a program that was created by Senator Kit Bond, and Kit Bond's idea was you can put money forever into things like job creation programs. I'm going to pick on Camden because it's Camden and it's New Jersey, and you can make fun of New Jersey and no one stops you. You can put money for job programs into Camden forever. But if there are no jobs in Camden, it doesn't help. And so the idea behind the HubZone program was, hey, why don't we put some actual work into Camden instead of putting just this nebulous funding into Camden? That might actually do something and improve life for folks and actually get to where we're going. So next slide, please. The whole idea behind the HubZone thing was sort of this ripple effect business. And theoretically, HubZone means that I, as the government, as a former contracting officer, I could award a contract to, I'm not even sure if they're down there anymore. I know they used to be there. So I apologize if this is outdated, but Campbell's Soup was always famously down Camden. If I award a contract to Campbell's, then that means that the folks at Campbell's have more money. So maybe the guy working third shift has a little extra cash. He's going down to the corner store more often. He's maybe buying cappuccino, buying some lottery tickets. He's got a little disposable income. The folks at the corner store suddenly have a little extra cash. Maybe they send their daughter for ballet lessons around the corner from Miss Jodine. Miss Jodine suddenly has a little extra cash, and she decides that she can go out to the Roasted Pepper for breakfast, and the Roasted Pepper has cash. And this money will eventually spread out through the community by bringing that first contract in to Campbell's. That's the whole idea behind the HubZone program. If we can get these contracts into historically underutilized business zones, and that's what HubZone stands for, that we can actually build the whole community up by dropping a contract in the middle and sort of having this ripple effect of the money spreading out from the original Campbell's contract. Next. So one of the exciting things that we have coming up is we have new goals. I love Gritty. I've got to admit, I don't like hockey, but I love Gritty. I think he's so crazy and awesome. So goals, we have Gritty. Click, please. We have changing goals coming up, and you guys might have heard about this. The National Defense Authorization Act, which is the great big bill that basically funds our entire military. The one for 2022 has actually changed how much of the budget the Defense Department wants to see go to different types of businesses. Over on the left-hand side of the screen, you see where the numbers have been for the past years. We have 23% of the entire federal budget is automatically earmarked for small business. Just cut out, zip, zop. Nobody else can have it. no matter how much Dell and Lockheed and Halliburton and all these big guys, Fluor and KBR, no matter how much these big boys drool and slobber and beg and plead, that 23% of the federal budget is automatically cut and they can't touch it. 5% of the federal budget has typically been set aside for woman-owned small businesses, 5% for 8As and small disadvantaged businesses, those folks who we were talking about the first half. 3% of the federal budget is earmarked to go for contracts for businesses owned by service disabled vets. And there's going to be a presentation about that later in the week. And 3% of the budget is for these hub zones. That is actually going up, and you'll see all the new numbers on the right side of the screen. Next. So a lot of people liked the idea of HubZone, and they liked this great idea that we were throwing these contracts into these areas where there wasn't really work, but no one understood the rules, and we changed the rules a little too much. So people started understanding the program, and then they drop in and drop out of the program. So we now changed the program so that people hopefully have a better idea, both from the government side and from the small business side, of what the rules are. Next, please. Hub zones are all over the United States. All 50 states and the territories. Guam, for example, is one giant hub zone because it is almost impossible to get stuff to Guam. It's almost impossible to get stuff from Guam. It is a nightmare logistically to be in Guam. And on top of it, it's apparently filled completely with snakes. So places like Guam are a historically underutilized business zone because it's a pain in the tuchus to do business in Guam. Places less like Guam, places around here, we generally have two different types of hub zones. Hub zones are based on areas with high unemployment and low revenue. So for the purposes of places that aren't crazy like Guam, in places like Pennsylvania, that means one of two things. It generally means you're either in an inner city, like down Philly, or it means that you are out in one of those counties on the other side of the state that's either filled with cows or it's filled with wolves. I say wolves, but when you get up in northwestern Pennsylvania, you're getting into like wolf and bear territory. So when you get out to these really sparsely populated areas, you have the opposite problem. There are no jobs because there's nothing. So up in places towards Sullivan County, up out toward Erie, where we keep Punxsutawney Phil, there ain't nothing where Punxsutawney Phil is except a groundhog in a box. There are no jobs out there except staring at a groundhog in a box. He lives in the library all year because there is no work other than staring at the groundhog that lives in the library. That area is a problem for work as well, almost as much as it is down Philly, just for the opposite reason. There are types of areas that are always hub zones. If you guys are familiar with something called BRAC, that is a base realignment and closure. Around immediately here, off the top of my head, we had a BRAC for the Willow Grove Naval Air Station down in Willow Grove. Willow Grove Naval Air Station, for all intents and purposes, went away. Those of us that are old school remember back in the old days, you could see the C-130s come in. There are no flights in and out of Willow Grove Naval Air Station anymore. All of those flights were moved to places like Andrews and Joint Place, McGuire, Dix, Lakehurst. That is called a BRAC. That base was realigned and closed. Areas around a BRAC are always hub zones for a while, because if you take a military base out of the area, it tends to hurt the small businesses in the area because there aren't soldiers around spending money off hours and stuff like that. Indian land is a hub zone. I used to be the staff attorney for a tribal nation out in Wisconsin. I don't know if any of you have experience dealing with reservations or similar, but those tend to be economically depressed areas. Non-metropolitan counties, that's what I was talking about when you get out toward Punxsutawney Phil. If you live in the middle of nowhere, a lot of times there's no work because you live in the middle of nowhere. I'm pointing at you, Wyoming. Wyoming, to a great extent, is a hub zone between Indian land and non-metropolitan counties. So there are these different types of areas that either because they're in the middle of nowhere or because we've taken the lifeblood out of the community, like we did with BRAC. Another big BRAC was Fort Monmouth up in New Jersey, BRAC down to Aberdeen, Maryland. Or places that there just never was work in the first place, like some of the places down Philly or Allentown, Bethlehem, after we took out Bethlehem Steel. If you guys know a lot of Allentown, Bethlehem, they had a lot of problems. Billy Joel wrote a song about it. There was such an economic problem in Allentown after they took out Bethlehem Steel. That is the type of thing we're talking about with HubZone. Next. So how do you know if you're in a hub zone? This is one of the ones that is not a huge amount of paperwork and it's pretty easy. There's a map. If you go to maps.certify.sba.gov, you can type in, if you see at the top of that bar there's a little enter address bar. All you have to do is type in your address and it will automatically come up, poof. You are, and you see this beautiful map with all these colors. It'll come up with you and you will be a beautiful color and it will tell you outright, you are in a hub zone area or you are not in a hub zone area. It is relatively idiot proof. It will tell you what type of hub zone area you are in. If you're on, say, the Croat Reservation in Montana, it will say hub zone certified Indian land. If you are down in Northern Liberties, to a great extent, is still a hub zone. If you're down in Northern Liberties, it will say that it's a census tract area, which means it's an area of high unemployment traditionally. It's kind of becoming gentrified now, but it traditionally has had a problem. But you just dump your address in there and it goes, pink, and it says, yay or nay. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. If you come up as a yay, awesome. It means that you are potentially good for the HubZone program. Next. The HubZone maps, like I said, we had this great program, but then we kept changing the rules and everybody got tired of trying to figure out the rules. So then we decided to lock down the rules. We've now locked the maps for 5 years. We used to lock the maps for 3 and people got tired of it. We've also made it easier if you buy a building to be in a hub zone, it will keep in a hub zone. We don't want to put people in a position where they move to a hub zone to get hub zone certification and then 3 years later, the neighborhood's gentrified and the whole area loses hub zone status. We've actually changed it to protect companies that buy a building in a hub zone, even if the area has changed. Opportunity zones tend to be in hub zones as well. So that is another area. And if you are in Philadelphia, say, and you're in a hub zone, if you run yourself through the map and see you're in a hub zone, you may actually also qualify for programs through the Commonwealth or the city of Philadelphia. So if you're looking for things like funding and that, just drop me an email and I may be able to put you in touch with people at the Commonwealth and the city as well. I speak on behalf of the United States federal government. However, I have friends and contacts and I know people everywhere. I've been doing this for a really long time and I've gotten to know a lot of folks. So even if I'm not the one to speak to, I can probably find you someone. Next. So I said you're probably a HubZone if you come up on that map. There are a couple more rules. Next, please. To be a HubZone business, obviously, again, like I said, we're the Small Business Administration, so you really kind of have to be small. But like I said, if you don't know that you're other than small, you're small. So I wouldn't really worry about that. There is an American citizenship requirement, so it has to be 51% owned and operated by US citizens and or these entities. That probably doesn't apply to anyone here, but if Alaskan Natives or Hawaiians own the property, that also counts. Your principal office must be located in a HubZone. If you work out of your home, that is absolutely fine. We are the Small Business Administration. Like I said, I don't judge. QuickBooks is fine. If everybody started out being this giant business that had a giant office that had CPAs and everything, I wouldn't have a job. I'm good with working out of your home. If you work out of your home, then you use your home address and run that. If you have a business like electrician, where people just deploy, sort of, then it's going to be where most of the employees deploy from to go off and do their stuff. If you have a primarily digital business, then it's going to be the location where the corporate office or where the corporate records are kept. Next. The other half of the HubZone program is 35% of your employees have to live in a HubZone. It does not have to be the same HubZone where your office is. So if you are, say, down Philly and a bunch of your employees live in Chester, a bunch of your employees live in Camden, you may be fine because there are a large number of HubZones in both Chester and Camden. Unfortunately, this means that literally what you have to do is you have to get the big old file of all your employees' driver's license or taxes or whatever it is that you have and type in everyone's address one by one by one by one by one into that HubZone map that I showed you and see if they come up yay or nay. If you get over 35% of yay, you're good. If you're a sole proprietor and you work out of your home and your home is located in a HubZone, that is 100% compliance. Obviously, you are good. So this is what constitutes an employee. It is 40 hours a month, full or part-time. Volunteers don't count. So if you have interns, if you have whatever running around, that's all good. They don't count. Next, please. If you win a contract, if you become certified as a HubZone and you win a contract, and the next year the HubZone borders move, which occasionally they do, like I said, BRAC eventually drops out, or we all know an area that used to be not so nice and now is really nice. It happens with neighborhoods, gentrification happens, borders move, things happen. If the area you're in becomes not a HubZone anymore, you're fine all the way through the contract. So you don't have to worry about, oh my God, I just won a contract and now my HubZone dropped out. You're fine. Once you're certified, you're good for a year. Next, please. Once a year, you just have to go in and double check your documents. This isn't a huge thing. This is partially just to make sure that we haven't had anyone drop out of business, drop out of SAM, drop out of everything. Every 3 years, you're going to have to go back through and basically play that game with, well, Bob lives in Chester. Okay. Adrian lives in Villanova. Nope. Bob. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's about every 3 years. If you have contracts, HubZone contracts, I do get a list of groups of businesses from headquarters. You might get a surprise audit, but it's not particularly likely, just as a heads up. Next. People quit, people leave, people hit the Powerball and move to Margaritaville. Things happen. And we realize that at times, even though you went through the entire thing and you found that 35% of your employees were in a HubZone, you were good, you were absolutely in compliance, and you were signed up, sometimes people go away or things change. You scale up and 35% is not the number it used to be, or somebody quits, somebody, whatever, somebody moves. We understand that 35% can change a little bit over time. So we do have a buffer if you are attempting to maintain your certification. If you have your certification and someone quits, you're not out. Just be aware that you do have to actively work to keep in compliance. Next. HubZone applications. HubZone applications are still through an old, ugly website called GLS. That's the General Login System. When I said back in 8A, we had a 90-day turnaround time. HubZone applications are 60-day turnaround time. It says that we're moving to certify in 2021. See how that went. I'm still waiting to hear when we're going to certify for HubZone. I'll let you know when we do, but currently all the links are in the presentation. Next. And next. Like I said, the gatekeeping for all of federal contracting, you can't play with any of us if you're not in sam.gov. That's that website that was run by GSA. Once again, there's a list of documents. There is the list of documents on the website. I will pull it and give it to Dominique to hand out with the handouts today. But we do give you a list of documents ahead of time for ease of sanity and just to make your life easier. Like I said, I really suggest that you pull everything in advance and make sure it's there. And then here's the link. That is a live hyperlink when you get the presentation. So you can go right there. And again, the clock does not start running until we have a completed application packet. So please make sure you see that it has been submitted. Next. Here's the general list of what you're going to need for the HubZone application. But as I said, I will give you the full document list as well. But this gives you a snapshot of the types of documents we're looking for. Next. Beware of sharks. This goes for both halves of my presentation today. And like I said, if you don't really take away anything else today, please take this away. This is a sample that I caught off of Google a few days ago. You'll notice I typed in HubZone certification into the search box. Those 3 arrows, those first 3 items that come up on Google, those are not the US government. Those are third parties. They are companies that, like I said, will take your money to help you register for HubZone. They are not affiliated with the US government in any way. They are likely to tell you, give me money, give me money, give me money. Please be extremely careful. Those entities paid a lot of money to make sure that they came up in the Google search above the United States government. If you see us, we're down there with the yellow stars. That is one of the reasons it's so important that you look for that .gov designation so that you don't get took. I'm not saying that those aren't legitimate companies up top. I'm just saying, please be aware that if you don't look carefully, those companies are actually outside entities who will charge you money for HubZone registration, which is in fact free. Similarly with 8A, if you put it into any search engines, you may get email, anything like that, that are going to suggest that you need to give money. Please do not. It is never required. Next. Like I said, it's never required because you have loads of people in your corner that you may not know that you had. First, we have Procurement Technical Assistance Center representatives. Those are PTACs. We have a great PTAC here at Kutztown. We have others that may be in your area if you're not around here. PTACs are federal contracting experts that are paid partially by the DoD, and they can help you with amazing things in federal contracting. One of the things that the PTACs can do that I cannot, as a federal employee, I cannot help you put together a bid on a federal contract. That is actually considered to be not in the best interest of the government. So if you actually, or you'll also get it, the criteria for employees is 40 hours a month. Full or part-time volunteers do not count. 1099s may be counted, and the slides are coming out as well. I cannot help you put together an actual bid because that is a conflict of interest because I'm the federal government bidding against the federal government. PTACs are great and they can actually help you put it together a bid. You can find PTACs everywhere in the United States through that link. Your local district office for the Small Business Administration is, well, me. We have them all over the United States. However, every state and territory has at least one district office. If you're not located in my area or if you have another office, I'm always happy to get you in touch with the office in your area as well. We have a number of great SBDCs. Those are the small business development centers in this area. Obviously, I love Kutztown. You guys are absolutely incredible. But if you guys are a little further out, we do actually also have a presence at Widener and Temple down near the city. And we have ones further out at places like Lehigh and Cedarcog as well. So if you're not immediately in the Kutztown area, I may be able to find you help closer as well. We also have women's business centers. If you are a woman-owned business and need specialized help, we can help you get help through WeBeck. Next. You don't need to pretend everything is okay. There is no need for a false smile. There really are people out here to help you. Again, our local district office, that's me, www.sba.gov/PA. We have loads of training opportunities on our website. We also have our resource guide, which has things like SBA approved lenders. SCORE is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. They are a great organization that is wonderful for things like business plans, business mentoring, and startups. And again, Women's Business Enterprise Center East has amazing resources, particularly for female-owned businesses. Next. And finally, this is me and my second, George Tapia. As I mentioned, George formerly ran a award-winning 8A business out of the state of California, and I am a former contracting officer with the United States Army. If you guys have any questions coming out of today's presentation on 8A or HubZone, coming out of yesterday's presentation on woman-owned small business, or any other questions about federal contracting, or if you need a referral to one of our folks that speaks lending, because I don't, please reach out at any time. I can be reached through these, or like I said, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to find. I have green hair. With that, thank you very, very much to everyone that was here today.
Thank you so much, Jen. As always, the information is much needed, much appreciated. Everyone, I know this was a lot of information. It was literally took up the 2-hour session. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Do be mindful that you will get the recording. So if you didn't catch something that Jen said before, you'll be able to reference both the slides and the recording as well. I'll send that out to you in an email, but it'll also be posted on our website and our YouTube channel. I'll likely break up the sessions though. So the hour of 8A and the hour of HubZone. So take, get a look out for that. Just a reminder, tomorrow is going to be featuring the Department of VA CDE. So that's the VOSB Veteran-Owned Small Business Program / Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business Program. We're actually going to have some folks who actually work in that department at the Department of Veteran Affairs speaking there. So you'll hear right from their mouths about the process, the benefits, etc. Definitely important if you, of course, are a veteran and are interested in just learning more about that certification. Same time, same link. So again, try to be prompt because we will start right at 10. And with that, I'm gonna kick it over here to the chat to see if anyone else asks any questions. It's moving kind of quickly here. Glad the information was helpful. Good, good, good. But what is the, okay, good. I see Jen responded to that. Yes, 8 days, 90 days for approval or responses. I'll give it another minute. I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time. But as always, do feel free to ask us questions if you, review the materials and you realize, oh, you know what, I have something that maybe wasn't talked about. Let us know. Let me or Jen know. Of course, Jen's contact info is in the slides. You can email me and we'll definitely find an answer for you. Okay, so I don't see any more questions coming in. Sorry if you're in the middle of typing, but with that, I'm gonna go ahead, sign off. Hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow or later on in the week on Friday for the WBE and MBE session that will be hosted by WEBEC East and also EMSDC. And of course, you'll get an email about that too. So no need to, remember all that. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Errol.